Good afternoon, and welcome to the second in our series of free webinars. Today, we are discussing how to spot errors on your credit reports. This series is brought to you by Best Credit RX. My name is Mark Silver. I am the owner and Chief Operating Officer of Best Credit RX, and we're pleased to bring these to you. Let's jump right on in. When looking at your credit reports, it can be very, very confusing. A lot of information on there. So what I want to let you all know is the basics of what to look for. And let's start with this. Everything on there is known as a trade line. A trade line is an or account. Okay, you want to look at each trade line that's on there. You should recognize everything. That said, collections can be very confusing. It'll show the debt collector, but not necessarily who are they collecting on behalf of. And we're going to get to that. You want to look at the dates. You want to look at the payment history. This is very important information. Is it accurate? With the exception of things that are in debt collections, the dates should be accurate. In a debt collection, something that a debt collector has, the date they're going to show is meaningless. It's simply the date that they got their hands on it, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. You want to look across the board. Are all three credit bureaus saying the same thing? If not, somebody's wrong, and it needs to be looked into. So here's an important piece of information I want to share with you. DOFD, date of first delinquency. Statute of limitations per federal law says that a trade line can be reported to the credit bureaus for 7 years and 6 months from when you made your last payment to the original creditor. That's the date of first delinquency, or 7 years from charge off. I don't want to confuse things too much, but basically you make your last payment, and then after 180 days or 6 months, they charge it off. So 7 years from charge off, or 7 years, 6 months from when you made that last payment to the original credit card. So for example, let's say you have a Walmart card, and the last time you paid them was June 2011. Okay, so 6 months after that, so that would be December, it's charged off. So December 2011, 7 years from that, it has to fall off the credit report. Any questions on that, you can let me know. Now, when it comes to a collection, just because it falls off your credit report does not mean that they can't try to collect on this until the end of time. They're welcome to, but there's really not much they can do but call, send letters. They can't report it to the credit bureaus. You'll be outside of every state has a different statute of limitations to be sued on, which is typically much shorter than 7 years, 3 years, 4 years. You can look that up, or you can call and ask me. Okay? Continue with your rights. Fair Credit Reporting Act, we've talked about this before, says that the credit bureaus can only report accurate, verifiable, and timely information. But they break this law. They don't care. They have no motivation to follow it. They're going to lie to you. You can try. You're more than welcome to try and write them and say, hey, this is wrong. They're going to send back something that says, no, it's verified, and hope you go away. And they're going to use a lot of stall tactics. Talk about stall tactics for a minute. They'll send a letter back saying, well, you didn't furnish us proper ID. We need this, this, and this, when indeed you did. They'll ignore you. They won't answer you at all. They're hoping you forget about them and you go away. They'll send you a letter saying, well, this has been complained about or, in the past, and so we don't have to answer this. This is frivolous. That's a word they like to use. We find this frivolous, and we're no longer going to investigate it. It's all illegal. They're trying to get you to go away and leave them alone. Remember, they make no money to do this. They are forced to do this by law. It's an $8 billion industry, and they get fined several million a year. When you're making $8 billion, what does a few million a year mean? Nothing. So it takes work to get them to comply, and that's where we come in and what we do. More about your rights. Fair Debt Collections Practices Act. This is another important one. And what you need to know about this is it is illegal for you to be threatened by a debt collector. They are forbidden to threaten to have you arrested, threaten to have you served, unless they are truly doing so. Now, how can you tell? Simply go online and look up the clerk of your county court and see if you're on the docket, or call the clerk and say, hey, I had this person call. Am I being sued? Odds are you're not. They can't threaten anything to garnish wages, freeze bank accounts. They cannot use harsh or obscene language, be rude, be nasty. And after receiving a cease and desist contact letter, they can be fined for contacting you. Cease and desist contact, my advice is this. Send them a certified letter telling them they do not have permission to call you. They must cease and desist phone contact, but make it clear that they can contact you through United States mail. This is important because if you send a total cease and desist, they might throw their arms up, and if it is within the statute of limitations, say, well, we have no choice. The only way we're going to get their attention is to sue this person. So cease and desist phone call, certified mail, keep the receipt for the certified mail, look up when it's been delivered, have that printed out and on you. And if they call you after that, I'll tell you where to go to file a complaint. They'll be fined. Fair Debt Collection Practices Act also gives me a lot of power in helping you. There's a lot of documentation that I can demand from a debt collector. The burden of proof is on the debt collector. And a key piece of information we're going to get from that debt collector is that date of first delinquency. The debt collector is just going to show the date that they got their hands on it. It could be today, but it could be a debt that's 7, 8, 9 years old. It could be 4 years old. And this is important depending on what you're trying to do. Let's say a mortgage, for example. If it's not a huge dollar amount, and the loan officer can see, the mortgage person can see that this is 3, 4 years old, they might be able to overlook that. Many times they can. So that's an important piece of information. And if they can't come up with the paperwork that the law requires, then I can get involved in forcing them to have it removed. Okay? There are numerous federal and state laws. I've mentioned 2, but there's a lot out there. And the credit bureaus, debt collectors, banks, mortgage companies, insurance companies, etc., they have to abide by them. And when they don't, we're going to take action and we're going to make them do it, depending on everybody's individual situation. An agency I want you to know about is the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, known as the CFPB. I have the link there, www.consumerfinance.gov. They're a powerful ally if used right. And what do I mean by that? You're having a problem. You've written the original creditor. Maybe you've even taken a shot with the credit bureaus. You've gotten nowhere. You're right. Especially if you have documentation to show you're right. You can scan that in. You can go to this website, file a complaint against them, attach your documentation, and these folks will go to work for you. They are pretty much feared by the credit bureaus, by the debt collectors. And if you make your case and you use them right, they can be a big help. I would check out their website. They have blogs. They show what they're up to, things they're considering. If you have a true complaint, file it with them and get help. Again, they levy heavy fines. You will if you really drill into the news that's online, if you look at Yahoo, MSNBC, whatever you like to look at, CNN. The top stories are, politics, what Putin's doing in Russia, Ebola, whatever. But as you drill down, almost every week, there's a debt collector that's just getting raided by the Federal Trade Commission, shut down, people are going to prison. And that's because the CFPB shares a database with the Federal Trade Commission. Enough complaints, they're showing that enough funny stuff's going on, that action will happen. Going to show you some sample credit reports that just give you a few ideas of some errors and another example I wanted to show. So I'm going to switch screens here, and hopefully this works. Hey, look, it did. Okay, so here's a case that's interesting. Client was sued by American Express Bank. Pretty big organization to go up against. I told her, show up, always show up. Don't fear these people, show up. They're counting on you not showing up, and then they're just going to ram that judgment down your throat, plus all sorts of fees. She showed up. We talked about what the argument should be, and she won. Look, plaintiff take nothing. Costs were adjudged against the plaintiff, against American Express. This judgment finally disposes of all parties and all claims and is appealable. American Express did not complain this. They did not appeal this. However, they kept it on her credit report. And even with an order from a judge saying you lose, it took me almost a year of fighting and getting the government. And why is this paused? Why is this paused? A way to resume screen sharing. Okay, let's put this back. You haven't been able to see this. Okay, this is going to be a problem with my presentation. I didn't know that was going to happen. Let's see if I minimize this and I maximize that. Will it work? Resume. No, it won't. Okay, this isn't going to work the way I wanted. So I'm just going to shoot. I'm going to have to kind of redo this one. Well, let me go into more about errors that you look for then. You want to look for in the aging where they show the 24-month history on revolving credit. If you had something that charged off, it should show the charge-off date. If you had a foreclosure, it should show the date of foreclosure. If short sale, there is a code for a short sale. A trend I am seeing in mortgages, and I had these ready for you, but it won't let me share them, is they'll freeze it. They'll freeze it at like 120 or 180 days in perpetuity. It'll just show, even though this thing might have foreclosed in 2010, it'll show 120 days for years. You're not going to get a mortgage. You're not going to get much done because it's basically showing that you're holding it out at 120 days late for all this time. You're not even living in the home anymore. Somebody else does. It's been foreclosed. So, you got to look at these dates. Are they showing the foreclosure? Are they showing the accurate date of charge off? Are they showing if it's been transferred or sold? Let's go back to Walmart as an example. Walmart charges off and they decide they're going to sell it to a debt collector, and it says transferred or sold, then the past due column needs to say 0. It's not due them anymore. It is now the debt collector. Two companies cannot be trying to collect on the same debt. Okay. Information should be complete. Equifax is famous for that, where there'll be a trade line listed and there'll be no name. There'll be an account number and a dollar amount. How is that accurate and how is that verifiable? It's not. So it's illegally reporting. They, look at everything, every line, and understand it. Now, I mentioned on debt collections, the date's not correct. We have to find that date. If it has not gone into collections, it's in collections, or it's been charged off. There's still a balance owed, but let's say, again, just for argument's sake, Walmart has not sold it. They're holding on to it. It can show that past due, and then you want to look at that date of last activity, DLA. That should be the last time you made a payment. If that's not correct, you need to address that. I'm also going to warn you about another tactic that I've seen. Gets charged off, let's say, I don't know, City Financial. They charge They charge it off. They contact you and say, look, you owe $15,000. We need to do something about this, and, look, we'll take $50 a month. Fair. So unknowing, client pays $50 a month over years, 50 a month, 50 a month, 50 a month. Hey, you're not even touching the interest. And here's the worst part about it. Every time you make that $50 payment, you're resetting the clock. So City Financial has kept this from going on the clock. The 7-year statute of limitations isn't going to start because there's a payment being made every month. And they're going to make $50 a month. They've already written off the 15 grand. This makes no sense. So if you have a situation like that, again, get in touch with me and let me give you some advice. I can get involved for you, or I can at least give you some advice. This was a bad deal, and I did get my client out of it. And I'm sorry I couldn't show the sample reports. I was excited to do that. I'll do another webinar where I figure out how to do that. But at least I was able to tell you of a few examples. Well, for any questions, there's a chat box on your screen. You're welcome to type questions. Here is all my contact information. I'm going to leave this up for a moment, take a screenshot, write it down, print it, whatever you like to do. Again, my name is Mark, 1-877-469-2279. My email, mark@bestcreditrx.com. Check out our website. In fact, I took some stuff down because I thought it was overwhelming, but I have a lot of information up there. If you have Facebook, like us on Facebook. I put a lot on Facebook. Twitter, like us on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. I put a lot out there, a lot of free information. I want you all to understand how this works. Next webinar, we're going to skip next week, Friday the 21st. We're going to talk about credit repair organizations. I'm going to debunk some of these myths that are out there about what we do. We are bound by federal laws and state laws. We are required to be bonded. And our company is certified by the National Association of Credit Service Organizations. That is a difficult certification to get. We have to exceed federal law. Everyone says they're different. We truly are. I'm going to prove that to you on the next webinar. I hope you'll join us. I ask that you check out our website and look at our partners on the website. These are good folks, mortgage people, realtors, banks. These are people that I have personally sat down with and done business with. I know they're good, honest, ethical people that do you right. If they have my seal of approval, absolutely, they're good people to work with. The recommended credit cards, same with them. I've been dealing with the banks for years. I know they're going to do you right if you need a secured card or even an unsecured card. They're not going to gouge you. They're not going to, they're not predatory. And we're always seeking new partners nationwide. Right now, we are in 19 states and 3 foreign countries. That goes up and down. So, if you know a mortgage person, if you know a banker, loan officer, realtor, auto dealership, we're always looking for people that we can meet, partner up with, so they have someone that they can refer to. Instead of just saying no and sending people on their way, let us help. Let us get involved. Best Credit RX, we are here to help people, and this is the way we found to do it. Advice is always free. We'll always do a free review of credit reports and initial consultation. No pressure, no obligation. We do not employ salespeople. Everyone here is certified and trained professionals in the industry. Again, my contact information there on the bottom. Feel free to call me after hours and weekends. I realize that we all work and we're all busy. This webinar, as with everyone we do, will be immediately posted to our website, bestcreditrx.com. You'll see a tab, Webinars, and feel free to watch it at your convenience. I thank you for your time. Have a great weekend, and I hope to hear from some of you. Thanks.